says, in a study, 6 medical students were each separately presented with the same patient whose symptoms could be the result of one of several medical conditions. Okay, so we have the same student and they're presented to 6 different medical students. The attending physician asked each student a leading question of the form, what test should we order to try to rule out a diagnosis of X, where X was filled with the different medical conditions for each student. Okay, so they asked the same question but filled out like a different disease or whatever. A week later, each student was presented with a patient having similar symptoms in the presence of a different attending physician who asked for a diagnosis without asking any leading questions. Each student began by testing the diagnosis that had been suggested by the original attending physician. So I'm thinking here, like my inference here is like, okay, so whenever you like are leaded to, or you kind of like you're exposed to a certain thing, like you're more likely to jump to that conclusion in the future.
That's my thought as well.
So what kind of question is this?
I think this is a support question.
Okay, so it's like, okay, yes, but like, what does that mean?
We're looking for...
Is this top down or bottom up?
This is going to be top down.
Excellent. So it's like a must be true question, right?
Yeah.
But instead of being like 100% certain, it's more like 90-95%. But yeah, so we're looking for something from the stimulus that's in our answer choices. So do we tend to want stronger or more mild answer choices?
Since we're looking for something that is most likely true, not necessarily 100% true, I'm going to guess that we want a sorry, my brain's frying.
Is it easier to support or prove something that's mild or something that's strong?
It's easier to prove something that's mild, so we want something weaker.
It must be. So remember, top down questions are always, we tend to want something more mild, like that we know for certain.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so A says, on the second occasion, so already I'm like, okay, none, this is strong, but let's see. None of the medical students began by testing the same diagnosis as, oh, I actually like this though.
Yeah.
Why? Where is the support for this in our stimulus?
Let me see. Okay, near the bottom where it's saying each student had begun by testing the diagnosis that had been suggested by the original attending physician.
Why do we know that it's different? How do we know that it's not the same diagnosis?
Because earlier in the stimulus, the form said what test should we order to rule out a diagnosis of X, where X was filled in with a different medical condition for each student.
Yes. And so if each student got a yes, so I'm guessing our answer is A. I'd be shocked if it isn't.
Yeah.
B says, at most, one of the medical students knew which of the several medical conditions was most likely to lead. Like, we don't know that. Maybe all of them did. Who knows? C says, the second attending physician was unaware of the results of the student. We don't know if they were, we don't care if they were unaware or aware of the results of the first attending physician, right?
Because it's not about the physician, it's about the students.
Yeah, we don't have any support for that. D, on the second occasion, exactly one of the students tested for the medical conditions that actually caused? No, because like maybe none of them were right.
Yeah, there's no support for that.
Yes, and then E, at least some. So at least one of the medical students were unaware that the patient's symptoms could be the result of medical conditions other than the one suggested. We don't know that. Maybe like none of them were. Maybe every single one of them was aware that the patient's symptoms could be the result of a medical condition that's different than what they were testing for. So that's why it's not E, and that's why our answer is A. What did you pick for this one?
I believe I picked E, but we can double check.
And I see how you went with something mild, right? And this is where like sometimes the mild versus strong can get you in trouble, where technically E is more mild than A because we have this none here. So we lead with logic first, and then if we're debating between two, we can lean on our strong versus mild.